folks can. Magnífico. Y bienvenidos. Vamos a empezar con la pregunta ardiente, the burning question for opening up tonight, which is quisiera. Wow, did this show up or are you still seeing? Ooh, I think this is because I got it. Ooh, can you see the board now? ¿Pueden ver? Can you see the board? ¿Sí o no?
It's a whiteboard.
No? Whiteboard. Oh yeah, but can you see the whiteboard here or do I need to move it here?
Oh, whiteboard, yes.
It's here.
Whiteboard.
You can see the whiteboard now.
The entire screen is whiteboard.
Okay. A ver, uy, and now it isn't anymore. I'm having problems with the whiteboard function today. I don't know why that is. Y ahora entiendo. Now I do see why. Ahora entiendo. Texto. Aquí. Ok. La primera pregunta de esta noche es esta palabra quisiera, que es la forma de querer, ¿no? Pero querer en el imperfecto del subjuntivo. So quisiera, but this quisiera, which could just be used as plain old past subjunctive, is still confusing some folks. So if you want to take a look in the old book, está en la página, ¿dónde está? Está en la página 237. 237 is where you will find some examples here. And quisiera has an odd function, which is one of the things that you have to take on faith. I hate to tell you that. You kind of just have to take it on faith. That quisiera really translates into what we would say this way in English. I would like, even though it doesn't mean like, but we use it when we want to express that idea. Okay, so quisiera, while it can be used in just a purely subjunctive thing, like one of those if clauses that you saw last week, quisiera also has this function of being what they call the super polite verb. And it's just an exceedingly courteous way of saying, I would like when you're ordering something or you're asking for something. And I know that querer means to want. So doesn't it really mean I would want? Well, yes, it kind of does. I would want because you're ordering something or asking for something from a clerk, from a waiter, from somebody at an office desk who is like handling forms for you, you know, in an office setting, whatever. So quisiera is just used in that way, even though it doesn't maybe make sense. It doesn't, it's one of those things that's hard to translate, but it is just used that way. And they tell you on 237, it is used to soften statements and questions. This is true. Soften as in not make it have a hard impact. So here's what I mean by that. If you walk up to the bar or, you know, whatever, quiero dos cervezas, I want 2 beers. Quiero dos cervezas, that verb quiero sounds a little abrupt to them. So if you're in a really, really formal situation, you know, you're in a nice place, a super nice place, or you're in an office setting where maybe formalities are a bigger deal. Using quisiera can really help. So they give an example. Quiero más café, por favor. I want more coffee, please. That's just, you know, I want more coffee, present tense. But quisiera más café, por favor. I would like more coffee. It's asking in a more polite way, a more formal way. That's all. It's erring on the side of being a little more polite. Okay. Queremos ir contigo al aeropuerto. We want to go to the airport with you. That kind of has a lot of force in Spanish. It just does. But quisiéramos ir contigo. We would like to go with you. Sounds a little more soft pedal. You know, kind of like, well, you could say no. But we're making this request, please. It's like saying a please in there with no word please really injected using quisiera. Quieres ir, pedir prestado mi libro? Do you want to borrow my book? Quisieras pedirlo prestado? Would you like to borrow it? So quisiera really is used for I would like, but in a very formal setting. So it's a formal way to say I would like something to someone who is providing service, providing a service to you. Yeah, that's what it is. You know, you want to butter up the teacher and you're a high school kid, you know. Quisiera pedirle, I would like to ask you, please. Yeah, that's just being like super polite. You know, and I don't want to say it's a kiss up phrase. It isn't really, it's not meant to be, you know, not in that sense, but just extremely polite. But you can't really look at it as it means, you know, I would want. It does, but that's not the way we would express that idea in English. So it's a hard to translate word, but it is used in that situation when you're making a formal request. Does that make more sense
Mhm.
than the way I probably poorly explained it last time?
Can you use it with the wife when you say, I'd really like to go out with the guys?
Yeah, there you go. Sí. Quisiera acompañarles a mis amigos. I would really like to accompany my friends. Yeah, sí, eso es. You know, it's just being extremely courteous. That's what it's doing. So does that help a little bit, Patricia? And anybody else? See? Okay. So don't seek to translate it literally. It's the I would like that is just quite formal and erring on the side of being very, very, very polite. Okay.
Can you replace me gustaría with quisiera?
Es buena pregunta. That is a good question.
Y pudiera.
When you look in a book,
Yeah.
it seems like you should be able to do that. But me gustaría really doesn't cut it the way that quisiera does. That,
Okay.
Oh, Diana, that is a really, really good question. Because it brings to mind, I'm going to have to search for this. It is buried somewhere in my gazillion bookmarks. I believe there is some video someplace where they actually do explain this with some examples. So I'm going to seek to find that again, because I know it's been done and has been done, you know, in such a way. Sometimes I find the way somebody presents something, it's like, well, that's better than I would have thought of to explain it. And I know there's one of those out there. Me gustaría does mean I would like. And a lot of textbooks lead you to believe that you can say that when you're ordering things, like in the restaurant.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really have that feel. So I'm going to find the really formal explanation that tells you why.
Okay.
Because again, it's going to do it better than I could do it. Yeah.
Para usar desear.
Desear?
Mhm.
Desear, to desire. Yeah, you can use sí, se puede. You can use that. Desearíamos, we would desire, we would like. I would do it. Deseáramos, could you put that in imperfecto? Yeah, but the turn of phrase that people just commonly use is this word quisiera. Quisiera, it's just one, you kind of have to accept it on faith. It's just what people use.
Marilyn, when people are getting a wedding invitation, it says, we would like your, how would they say it? They would say,
you see that sometimes as desear. Sometimes they use desear. We would desire your presence, because that's considered, you know, again, like a super formal. And desear has a much softer feel to it than querer. Querer is, you know, I want, you know, it does sound kind of forceful. And, you know, oddly enough, like you walk up to a bar and you order a beer, it's not considered forceful to say, póngame una cerveza. put it in front of it. It's not considered rude to say that or abrupt. But, you know, again, like belling up to the bar, it's not like quite like sitting at a dinner with a nice tablecloth. It is certainly not the same as requesting that your work colleagues come to your kid's wedding. Invitations are considered very formal statements, and always it would be, you know, nice formal verbs like desear and you know, quisiera and things like that. You know, we request your presence. Oh yeah, we request your presence rather than we invite you. You know how those are, you know, often on wedding invitations and such, we request your presence. Yeah, it's like that. Quisiera is like that.
Marilyn, would you use subjunctive?
For
In that
desear, you might, or you might just use present. Deseamos. Los dos. I'm sure you could find, you know, because there's never any one way of expressing that. You know, there are many ways that people may use, but certain words do have a formal versus a less formal kind of feel to them. Ooh, and I lost my link. Aquí voy, here I go.
So Marilyn, that was one of the expressions, quisiera, that you would use that signals that you need the imperfect subjunctive if you're talking about the past.
Quisiera is itself the imperfect subjunctive.
Okay, as is pudiera.
How, yeah, so how that is a little bit different from the regular use of any subjunctive is that quisiera is kind of standing alone. It doesn't have that thing of when it means I would like. So when quisiera means I would like something, then, you know, you're used to having like one human being using a trigger phrase, the word que, and then a second different human being. And that's the part where the subjunctive goes. And quisiera often just stands alone. It doesn't need, it doesn't always need all those other trappings and all those other words. So and pudiera is the same. Pudiera is the same for could.
How about hubiera? Is that the same, or does that?
Hubiera comes from haber. Hubiera comes from haber. And hubiera can be used together with a past participle. It can also be just the subjunctive instead of I. Si hubiera, por ejemplo, si hubiera más tiempo, if there were more time. Si hubiera más estudiantes, sería difícil. If there were more students, this would be difficult. So hubiera often, just like you have I and hubo and había, hubiera can be the subjunctive form for the plain old I, that in kind of impersonal way of using haber as I.
But it's the if that gives the C that gives all this away, then, right?
Yeah, and hubiera can also function in a two-verb phrase, and I think there are going to be some examples in what you're going to see tonight. And if there aren't, we'll find you some.
Okay.
But it starts to get a little bit convoluted if you've got it as that subjunctive with a past participle. It's not too bad for you guys to read, but for you to naturally have that come out of your mouth might be a lot of thought process to get into it. But to be able to recognize it when people are saying it, that will be much easier. That will be much easier. So there are two ways you can use hubiera. That is a good idea. I'm going to write that down right now. We're going to take a little bit of a look at that next week. Hubiera, because sometimes you will hear it. Okay. ¿Hay otra pregunta antes de empezar aquí? Okay, what my goal is today is to give you some more context to be able to naturally use and naturally hear and understand how people will use this. when you listen to movies in particular, or when you listen to people speaking. So we've had the C clauses and she covers some of this. We're going to watch about 10 minutes of this video, but after that, it's going to become a repeat of what we did with C clauses. And then she does some present subjunctive stuff that we don't need to work on right now. So we're going to look at this. So remember we had that acronym WEIRDO a long time ago? WEIRDO gives us an idea of the kinds of verbs that will be a trigger or a causation to use subjunctive later on. And those weirdo reasons, those weirdo verbs are going to be the same for this past subjunctive as they were for present subjunctive. That still fits, that still works. So weirdo was wishes, verbs of wishing, verbs of emotion, impersonal expressions like es imposible, es probable, okay, es importante. Those are impersonal expressions. Recommendations, you're going to see that in here, recommendations. Doubt, that's the tough one. We're not going to touch that yet. Doubt. And ojalá. Ojalá, that wonderful universal ojalá. You don't have to think hard about it because it's always ojalá. Okay, always ojalá. And ojalá often leads into an hubiera type word, Royce. So we'll see that maybe next week. So what's going to happen is we're blending this idea of the weirdo verbs that are trigger points to signal we need subjunctive. And we're blending it with the idea of which verbs fit in the past idea camp and which verbs fit in the present idea camp. Because all those verbs that fit in the past ideas camp, imperfecto, pretérito, condicional, and that condicional is the tough one. Conditional, imperfect, and preterite in particular, those fall into that past idea camp. And therefore, when I've got a trigger verb in that past idea camp, that past idea tense group, it's going to need a past subjunctive verb. So you'll see some examples here. Tengo que compartir con mi pantalla. I got to remember all my buttons. Tengo que recordar todos los botones. Okay.
En el video de hoy voy a responder algunas preguntas que ustedes nos han mandado. Vamos a aprender muchas cosas interesantes, así que empecemos. Algunos de ustedes me mandaron algunas preguntas en Instagram y otros acá en el canal de YouTube. Así que hoy vamos a responder 3 preguntas que me mandaron por Instagram. ¿Por qué solo 3? Porque la respuesta para estas preguntas es larga y quiero asegurarme de que todo quede muy claro.
So remember, we always take this kind of stuff in little pieces because otherwise it's a huge topic and it's difficult to explain, and everybody who teaches this knows that.
Primera pregunta viene de Maki98 que dice: Hola Andrea, when and how do you use the imperfect subjunctive? Muy bien, vamos a explicar eso. Pero otra persona, Restless Legs, también en Instagram me preguntó cuándo hay que usar el subjuntivo imperfecto. Así que aquí vamos a responder esa pregunta. Primero, recordemos que hay 4 tipos de subjuntivo. Subjuntivo presente perfecto, que se utilizan para hablar del presente y el futuro. Y luego tenemos el subjuntivo imperfecto, número 3, y subjuntivo pluscuamperfecto, que son los que se utilizan.
Roy, the hubiera with a past participle fits into that last thing. Pluscuam imperfecto. Oh, look at all this terminology. Okay, so if I had the verb I as an impersonal, it would be, you know, I, presente, haya dicho, dijera, right? Dijera and hubiera dicho. This is the hubiera dicho thing. That's the hubiera thing. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Utilizan para
Yeah.
hablar del pasado. Así que el subjuntivo imperfecto. Bueno, lo usamos en 4 casos específicos.
We're going to see 3. I
Número
believe.
1, para reportar lo que alguien me dijo. Juan told me to call him. She asked me if I could go with her. Cosas como esas, estoy reportando lo que otra persona told me or asked me to do.
So situation number 1, and you're going to practice some of this actually. And I wish you didn't use the word reported because there is another way this is often reported speech and this isn't it. Okay, anyway. When somebody tells somebody else to do something, that's it. Somebody told, but now we're talking about the past. Somebody told somebody else, hey, go do that. And it has to be expressed that way, not I'm telling my kids to clean the bathroom, but I told my kids to clean the bathroom, that kind of thing, okay? So it's going to be taking that idea of I am requesting that somebody else do something.
Así que la estructura
But
de
in the
esto
past.
es pretérito, cuando tenemos el pretérito en una cláusula, en la siguiente cláusula vamos a tener el subjuntivo imperfecto. Por ejemplo, Juan told me to get here earlier. Juan me dijo que llegara aquí más temprano.
Okay, and the reason that goes into subjunctive is that one person, Juan, requested that somebody else, and it's implied that it's a yo. Look, there's no yo even there. It's implied, okay? Juan told me to get there earlier, okay? One person, Juan, but he told in the past, he told me to do this, okay? He told me to do it. This event had not yet happened. At this point, when he told me, hey, get here at this time, we didn't know if it was going to happen, right? When one person tells somebody else to do something, that second part has to go into subjunctive. And because this is dijo, said, it's going to be a past subjunctive. That's why. This makes sense so far? Any verb that indicates, hey, somebody told me or asked me to do this, you've got one human being, Juan, and a different human being here. Okay? And you've got a request. And because it's in the past, it's got to be the past subjunctive. That's it. Okay.
Llegara aquí más temprano. Recordemos cuál es la conjugación del verbo en el imperfecto de subjuntivo. Vivir, viviera. Sentir, sintiera. Comer, comiera. Beber, bebiera. Hablar, hablara. Llegar, llegara. ¿Cierto? Esa es la conjugación del verbo en el subjuntivo imperfecto. Así que número 1, para reportar lo que alguien me dijo. Veamos otros
So
ejemplos.
not just to report what somebody said to you, to report what somebody told you to do or what somebody asked you to do. Okay? Not because I could also say, he told me it was raining. That's a fact, right? He told me the car was broken. That's just a fact. So it's not just somebody telling you information, it's somebody telling somebody else what to do, okay?
Ana le pidió
Marilyn?
a su esposa.
Cece,
What if you were saying, he told me he left already, but you already knew that he didn't? So,
Oh, okay. It's still kind of a factor. But oh, and it's the same. He told me he left. There's no change of human being. You've got to have a change in those two people that you're talking about to get the subjunctive in most cases.
or
There are
then
some exceptions,
he told me that she left already,
but that's a,
but it's not
Say,
necessarily a fact if he lied.
but that's not yes. And that's why I don't really like that she uses that word reported, because that gets into messy cat territory. He told me that she left. That's all still in the factual realm. He told her to leave. That's different. That's subjunctive. He told her to get the heck out. That's going to be subjunctive because I've got one person and a different person in the second clause. And in most cases, it's never 100%, but in most cases, you've got to have different people.
I'm just wondering, like, if you know after the fact that when you're telling somebody, okay, so he said, she's gone. What? He told me she was still here. And that there'd be a place for the,
Yeah, but well, not so much there. No, the way I would prefer she had phrased this is when you use the word told somebody or asked somebody to do something, because it's not really reported speech. It's telling somebody, go do it. I told you, or I told her to go do that. If I have these verbs in present tense, it would be a present tense, go, dice, and a present tense, pedir, pide, with a present subjunctive. If I have one person telling somebody else to do something, that is setting up subjunctive. And it's just a question here of doing it in the past. Oh, right.
These are commands then, right? Is that the heading of this topic here? This one section here? Command?
No. Well, no, it's not the heading. But when you are phrasing it as somebody told me to do something, there is an implied command there, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. That's what's happening. Okay. So when we have one person, look at it this way, when we have one person imposing their will on somebody else, we don't know yet if that activity is going to happen. It's in la la land, right? Even if it's in the past. He told me to start the car. I don't know if that happened yet. He told me to go crank up the engine. Did it happen? It's one person giving somebody else an order. Not one person reporting what happened. He said that she left. That's both factual kind of speaking, factual speech. It's got to be one person telling somebody else what to do. It's like giving a command.
There's an element of doubt on this.
There's an element of doubt. Exacto. There's an element of doubt. And Spanish, I will tell you, native Spanish speakers cannot understand why we struggle with this. And English speakers do struggle with it because we don't have it we hardly ever have this. Hardly ever. We have the words may and might. If I were you, I would. That's as close as we get in English. And we don't get a whole lot closer than that. So English is very, very hard. We haven't got the mental setup, and for them it's very obvious. Well, it's obvious. It's not obvious. No es obvio. It's not obvious for us. If you feel like this is hard, you're normal. So
why is there an element of doubt in telling somebody to go to the grocery store?
Anna asked her husband to go to the grocery store.
Where's the doubt?
Did that
Did he go?
because How many times do you tell somebody to do something and they do it? They do it all the time? Roy, I want to know your secret. Everybody does.
I
Please
guess
tell
not.
me how to get this across to my family. So I know it seems like, so here's where I think you're kind of struggling with it. If it's in the past, didn't that happen? And then isn't that a fact? But it follows this pattern of, if I have all these ideas in present tenses, Anna is telling her husband to go buy this versus Anna told her husband to go buy this. Both of those require subjunctive. They require subjunctive.
So if
Boom.
Anna's husband told her, said, Anna's husband said he did go to the grocery store, that's
Anna-
different.
And here is Anna asked, yes,
Right.
here is Anna, pedir is to order or to ask for something. She asked him to do this. It was a request, so it was an implied command.
It's very interesting because in one case you got a person saying, asking someone to do something else and you don't know if it happened. But if that person said, he said that it was raining,
That's not subjunctive.
because it's a fact he actually said that.
Because he said it was raining. He's not imposing his will on anybody else.
Okay.
He is not, yes, he is not trying to do a machination of imposing his will to make something happen. That is just with, and I can, wow, I can even tell you, oh God, this is sad. It's third year, like it's fourth semester, third year Spanish, this other reported speech thing. He said that it was raining, does not require subjunctive. That is what they formally do call reported speech when we explain it to kids getting ready for university. That is actually true reported speech. This is more like somebody is trying to make somebody else do something.
Last question on this.
Sure.
You said the preacher said that Jesus will save you.
Oh my God. Let me think about that for a moment. The preacher said that Jesus will save you or would save you. The
Would.
preacher said that. He is probably saying that as a fact because he believes that. If you in your mind believe that that is true, you're not going to put it into subjunctive likely.
This is hard.
It is hard. It is hard. But notice, we're not practicing stuff with doubt. We're practicing stuff that you might actually say. Like, I told my kids not to take the car tonight. We are going to be practicing things that are more natural to an actual conversation with somebody.
So
And
like,
so we're going to pick out situations where you can tell this is going to be subjunctive. See, Patricia.
if you said, I asked the maid to clean my room.
I asked the maid to clean my room. You need subjunctive.
Okay.
Absolutamente.
Okay.
Okay, so really the key here is I asked, I told them, I asked somebody to do something. I asked somebody else to do something. That's the key.
He asked Jesus to save him.
That's subjunctive. Yeah.
Okay.
You know that thing that you see in the movies where the guy goes, heal. And you know, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. He's asking God to do it. Oh, if he's asking God to do it.
It's kind of like, ojalá.
Oh yeah, then that's subjunctive. Oh yeah. You're asking God, you're asking. God may not want to do it for you. So you never know, maybe I'm not worthy and God won't do it for me. Just saying. So, okay. So we're gonna do some very obvious, I don't have to think too hard examples, because it is hard to think about. We want to give you templates of things that people might typically say where I should use subjunctive. So the one template, a template is, ¿dónde está? I want the first one. One person A tells told person B to do this. That means they were imposing their will upon them. Same, so decir, but decir in a past idea verb expression, okay? And the second one is pedir, meaning you ask somebody to do something. Again, you're
Ana
imposing
le
your will.
pidió a su esposo que comprara el mercado. Le pidió.
Ana, person A, esposo, person B. She ordered him to do this. She asked, and we would say asked him. Okay. She asked him because she made a request for his services.
She asked him to buy the groceries. Le pidió a su esposo que comprara. ¿Cierto? Entonces, aquí tenemos el primer verbo en el pretérito y el segundo en el imperfecto, because
So if this were in present ideas instead of past ideas, it would be Ana le pide a su esposo que compre en el mercado, okay? But because I'm putting this into pidió, a past idea kind of verb, I need that verb as comprara instead of compre. Pidió que comprara, pidió que llegara, pidió que fuera a Safeway. Pidió que fuera a Safeway, asked him to go to Safeway. Okay?
someone asked someone to do something or someone told someone to do something. Otro ejemplo, el doctor nos sugirió que hiciéramos ejercicio. The doctor suggested us or suggested to us that we did exercise.
And look, person A, el doctor, person B, the suggestion was made to nosotros. Nos sugirió, suggested to us que hiciéramos ejercicio, that we do some more exercise, okay? Suggest is maybe not as forceful as pidió. Suggest is maybe not as forceful as dijo, hey, you exercise more, right? But sugerir, or even for that matter, recomendar, are both those, the are kind of verbs from Weirdo. They are recommending verbs. It is one person trying to impose their influence, their will upon somebody else. Okay.
Or the doctor suggested us to do exercise. Lo que quiero que veas es que en inglés el verbo parece estar en el infinitivo, pero no. Se pone en el subjuntivo imperfecto.
And look what we do in English. We do to do in infinitive. They just don't do that. You got all kinds of stuff in your English thinking brain that messes with you with this structure. That's why this is hard.
¿Por qué? Porque es algo que yo estoy reportando que alguien le dijo a otra persona
But it's a
que hiciera.
suggestion.
Uso número 2 del imperfecto. Cuando yo hablo de un deseo que yo tenía en el pasado. ¿Ok? Aquí vamos a utilizarlo con 3 verbos principales. Querer, esperar y necesitar. Y la estructura es el imperfecto más el subjuntivo imperfecto. Veamos los ejemplos. Saúl quería que yo fuera a su fiesta, pero no pude ir. Saúl wanted me to go to his party, but I couldn't go. Saúl quería que, imperfecto, yo fuera, subjuntivo imperfecto, a su fiesta, pero no pude.
This is really no different than sugerir or pedir. It's just a question of how forceful this imposing of your will is. Because all these verbs have one person trying to get somebody else to do something. Querer, I want you to do this. And again, in English, this is why it's so hard. We say to go, and that's just not what they use at all in Spanish.
Ella esperaba que yo le trajera un regalo y flores. She expected me to bring her a gift and flowers. So, si ven, someone wanted someone else to do something. Someone expected someone else to do something. Ella esperaba que yo le trajera flores y un regalo. Y otro ejemplo más, ella necesitaba que yo la llamara. She needed me to call her. Necesitar, esperar y querer. En el imperfecto y luego el deseo de la persona, ese verbo en el imperfecto de subjuntivo. Bueno, estos dos primeros usos del imperfecto se refieren al pasado, pero de hecho los otros dos usos del subjuntivo imperfecto se refieren a una situación hipotética, a una posibilidad, a algo que hace referencia al presente o al futuro posible. Es bien interesante este tipo de subjuntivo porque se usa para pasado, pero también para una condición, una posibilidad en el presente. Entonces, número 3 es el condicional más el subjuntivo imperfecto.
This one will sound
Cuando yo
familiar.
expreso un deseo que yo tengo. I would like that you visited me. I would like for you to visit me. Cosas como esa. I would prefer for us to get there earlier. Or I would prefer that we got there earlier. Como cosas así que son deseos que tú tienes. Así que veamos los ejemplos. A mis padres les gustaría que yo los visitara más a menudo. My parents would like me to visit them more often. ¿Sí? Entonces, to visit parece infinitivo, pero no, es subjuntivo imperfecto. ¿Por qué? Porque este es un deseo que alguien está expresando. Something.
So what I want you to just notice here is that this this is a good I had forgotten that she had les gustaría in this unit. This is a good example of les gustaría. It's not I'm sitting down ordering something or I'm going over to somebody's desk and asking them to get a file for me. It's kind of a bigger, more general situation. A mis padres les gustaría, but les gustaría is condicional, and condicional is in camp past. So because my parents would like me to do something, here's what's going to happen. A mis padres les gustaría que yo los visitara. And that visitara has to be a past subjunctive.
That person would like, would prefer, would want to do, or would want someone to do. Otro ejemplo. A Diana le encantaría que su novio le propusiera matrimonio pronto. Diana would love for her boyfriend to propose to her soon. Le encantaría que él le propusiera. Yo preferiría que tú llegaras aquí más temprano. I would prefer for you to get here earlier. Or I would prefer that you got here earlier. Déjame tu ejemplo con alguno de los usos del subjuntivo imperfecto para calificar tu frase. Y el último uso, número 4, es cuando yo digo algo hipotético, algo que no es de una cierta forma, pero que a mí me gustaría que fuera de esa forma. Y aquí utilizamos la estructura sí más subjuntivo imperfecto más el condicional simple.
Okay, so
¿De
this
qué-
is what you saw last week, and we'll do more of this
¿Qué
this
frases
week.
estoy hablando? Por ejemplo, si mi esposo y yo tuviéramos más tiempo, viajaríamos más. If my husband and I had more time, we would travel more. If my husband and I had more time. Si nosotros tuviéramos. So, este sí está seguido del subjuntivo imperfecto para expresar que es algo hipotético. Si
Okay, and this one is a very formulaic thing that we saw last week. See me, and the C always matches up with the past subjunctive part, always. Okay, si mi esposo y yo tuviéramos más tiempo, viajaríamos. The nice thing about C clauses is that I can flip the order of the clauses and it makes no difference whatsoever. I could flip the order of those clauses, grab that red viajaríamos first, and I would be okay. So it would sound like this. Viajaríamos más, we would travel more. Viajaríamos más si mi esposo y yo tuviéramos más tiempo. I can flip the order of those clauses and it makes no difference at all. They're both okay. They're both cool. They're both easy to use. It's a very formulaic thing. Si with a past subjunctive and then a conditional in that second verb clause. And this is one of those things that kind of violates that thing of two different people. Because look, they're both in we forms. So yeah, that two different people is kind of most of the time, but with C clauses, it doesn't really matter. With C clauses, you don't always have a change of subject or two distinct human beings in each clause. With the other ones, you really have to have that.
tuviéramos más tiempo, viajaríamos.
Okay.
If my mom
So
Un
Marilyn,
ejemplo más.
so
Sí.
Marilyn, you would always have a C clause as part of this one.
It's a C, but it's a C clause with these tenses because there are other C clauses, but then they're in present. And that's a different question. So this C clause, si mi mamá viviera más cerca, yo la visitaría más. If my mom lived closer, I would visit her more. Okay, I could flip the order of this and say, yo visitaría a mi mamá más si viviera más cerca. I could flip the order of those and it would still be the same kind of structure. The C always matches up with a past subjunctive, and then we've got a conditional in the other part of the clause. Okay.
You also said that this was one that didn't require two different subjects, right?
Yeah, not always. Here, it does have two different subjects. Here it does, but it's not always. That one can kind of go a bunch of different ways. So those C clauses can do lots of different things. You have more leeway with a C clause. Okay, we're going to take a look at something else. We're going to say, let's put this into practice. ¿Dónde está? Uy, a ver. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Eso no, eso no. A ver, un momentito. Oh, aquí. Bien, ok. Lo encontré. I found it. Lo encontré. Aquí está. We're going to see the very first. We're going to see what preceded the curandero guy. We're going to see a real medical opinion.
Don't
An
trust
honest
them.
to God, yeah, an honest to God medical opinion. And I apologize. This is the thing that I meant to send you as a link and I messed up or it wouldn't give it to me. Ooh, it was numbered. Maybe that's why I had a problem. Okay, aquí. And here she's
Hola,
this
welcome.
to background. We don't really need.
Buenas tardes, Raúl. ¿Cómo se encuentra? Le pedí que a mi consulta para hablar sobre los resultados de sus pruebas.
And ooh, I'm going to see if I can make this bigger because I know, Roy, you had problems seeing this.
It's actually pretty clear tonight for some
Oh,
reason.
it's clear tonight. Ah, magnifico. Okay, I am thinking about you, Roy. Okay. Buenas tardes, Raúl. ¿Cómo se encuentra? How do you find yourself? Meaning, how are you feeling? ¿Cómo se encuentra is just a different way of saying ¿cómo estás? How do you find yourself? How are you doing? ¿Cómo se encuentra? And she speaks to him with usted because it's kind of formal. Yeah. Okay. You know, they're not best buds. It's a doctor-patient relationship. ¿Cómo se encuentra? Le pedí, I asked you. Oh, I asked you to do something. Here it comes. Le pedí que, which one would it be?
Viniera.
Le pedí que viniera a mi
Viniera.
consulta.
Buenas tardes, Raúl. ¿Cómo se encuentra? Le pedí que viniera a mi consulta para hablar sobre los resultados de sus pruebas.
Oh, talk about your test results. Here comes the beginning of his problems.
Buenas tardes, doctora Jazmín. Gracias. Cuando me llamó ayer, tenía mucho miedo de que los resultados de las pruebas no fueran buenos.
Where are you?
Fueron.
Buenas tardes,
Yeah.
doctora Jazmín. Gracias. Cuando me llamó ayer, tenía mucho miedo de que los resultados de las pruebas no fueran buenos.
The big clue is probably he was feeling so crummy. Yeah. Tests aren't going to be good because you feel crummy. You still feel crummy. I bet those tests aren't looking good. Okay. And here it's like a negation or a doubt, right? You know, I was afraid that they weren't going to turn out
Me
good.
sorprendió que no me los resultados por teléfono. ¿Pasa algo?
Okay. This one's a little bit harder because sorprendió is a verb of emotion. And we don't always think of that as a verb of emotion, but it is. It surprised me that you didn't give me the results by phone.
Yeah.
Diera.
Yeah, diera.
Me sorprendió que no me diera los resultados por teléfono. ¿Pasa algo?
¿Pasa algo? Something going on here? Sí.
Preferí que usted y yo en persona, Raúl.
I preferred that you and I.
Vamos.
Preferí que
Habláramos.
usted y yo habláramos en persona, Raúl.
And that preferir, I prefer, I am putting the will on the two of us. It's changing from yo, preferí, to nosotros in the second half. But preferir is a verb of wanting. I preferred this, imposing your wants, your wishes on somebody else. And in this case, it's a nosotros.
Es bueno que usted se sometiera a un grupo de pruebas la semana pasada.
It's a good thing that you went through a batch of tests
Oh,
last week. Someterse is to submit yourself to something, which sounds really, submit yourself, submissive, but no, you know, submit yourself. You undergo this, okay?
Cometida.
diera.
Es bueno que usted se sometiera a un grupo de pruebas la semana pasada.
And the es bueno is an impersonal phrase, okay?
Mm.
So this is why we didn't go through this all last week. We were looking at just something very formulaic last week with more C examples, C clauses. This won't be all C clauses. It's going to be all different stuff.
Comprendo, doctora. Mi familia me ordenó que me las pruebas, ya que no dejaba de quejarme del dolor. Por eso decidí ir a su consulta la semana pasada.
Oh, my family ordered me
Yeah.
Hiciera.
que hiciera.
Comprendo, doctora. Mi familia me ordenó que me hiciera las pruebas, ya que no dejaba de quejarme del dolor.
Yeah, because I
Por
was,
eso decidí venir a su consulta la semana pasada.
yeah, ya que no dejaba de quejarme del dolor, seeing as I was not, I was never stopping complaining. I was nonstop complaining. Dejar de stop, since I didn't stop complaining all week, they got sick of hearing him. Okay, so yeah, me ordenó. My family made me do this.
A pesar de que mi familia dice que soy un quejumbroso, no me pareció que el dolor tan insoportable.
Okay, even though my family says that I'm just a complainer, I'm a whiner, quejumbroso, I'm just a pain in the butt complainer. It didn't seem to me that
Where?
Fuera.
A pesar de que mi familia dice que soy un quejumbroso, no me pareció que el dolor fuera tan insoportable.
I'm the only one in my family who doesn't notice how much complaining is going on. Okay, yeah.
Verá, Raúl, antes de hacer los tests no creía que usted nada grave. Sin embargo, hemos encontrado piedras en su vesícula.
Oh, and here is a I didn't believe. I didn't think that it was that bad. Nevertheless, however, sin embargo, we have found those stones. Yeah. So I didn't think. There she was implying doubt, right?
Verá,
Sí, era.
Tuviera.
antes de hacer los tests no creía que usted tuviera nada grave. Sin embargo, hemos encontrado piedras en su vesícula.
Yeah. Okay.
Piedras en la vesícula. Voy a morir. Sería probable que yo... Doctora, dígame la verdad, por favor.
Doctor, please tell me the truth. Yeah. Oh, and look, it's conditional. So it's in past camp. It's in past camp. If it were es probable, you would need present subjunctive, but now it's sería probable. So we need
Oh, yeah.
muriera.
Piedras en la vesícula. Voy a morir. Sería probable que yo muriera. Doctora, dígame la verdad, por favor.
Bien.
Raúl, tranquilícese, por favor. Sería muy extraño que esta enfermedad complicaciones importantes.
It would be really, really rare for this illness to cause like significant complications, right? And sería is in the past camp because it's a conditional tense verb. So sería muy extraño que, ¿cuál? Which one?
Causara.
Causara.
Raúl, tranquilícese, por favor. Sería muy extraño que esta enfermedad causara complicaciones importantes.
Yeah, Raúl, relax. Take a deep breath, man. Tranquilese. Yeah, tranquilese. Please try to chill and simmer down. Okay.
Verá, sería recomendable que usted se operara para quitar las piedras de la vesícula.
There's another conditional. It's the past camp. It would be recommended. It would be recommended that you do this.
Yeah, but
Yeah, se operara.
Verá, sería recomendable que usted se operara para quitar las piedras de la vesícula.
Quitarle, take them out of you. Quitar is to take something away or to take something out. So, yeah, extract.
Necesito cirugía. Doctor Jasmine, tengo mucho miedo al quirófano. Preferiría que nosotros otras posibles opciones.
Yeah. Do I need surgery? How is they going to get those out?
Marilyn,
See,
on the last sentence, on the last phrase, quitarle, wouldn't it be if you're removing stones, quitarles?
oh, no, quitar is an AR verb. And I would
But-
have to go back and look at the
but
whole
stones-
structure there.
But stones is plural.
But somebody takes the stone out of you. So that one is not working like gustar. quitar is talking about whoever does the job of yanking it out.
Oh, okay.
Ah, okay. Mejor? Better?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Oh, preferiría. I would like, it's conditional, so it's in the past idea camp. I would prefer that we discuss other possibilities.
Discutiéramos.
Discutiéramos.
Necesito cirugía. Doctora Jazmín, tengo mucho miedo al quirófano. Preferiría que nosotros discutiéramos otras posibles opciones.
Okay.
Ojalá que hubiera más opciones para usted, Raúl, pero me temo que esta es su única opción.
Ah, if only, hopefully there would be some more options, but I'm afraid this is it.
Yeah.
Hubiera, and this is,
Ojalá que hubiera más opciones para usted, Raúl, pero me temo que esta es su única opción.
and we can't say ojalá que hay. Ojalá que haya might work. Hopefully there are other options, but she's saying, well, we wish there were, but there aren't. We wish there were, hubiera. We wish there were more options for you. You know, it would be nice, God willing, there would be something else for you to do. Me temo que esta es la única. I think this is it. This is the one thing you got to do.
Ay, doctora, no me diga.
No me diga, don't tell me that.
Si no me... Las piedras de la vesícula, ¿cuál sería el resultado?
Oh, if they didn't take the stones out, what would happen?
Ay, doctora, no me diga. Si no me quitaran las piedras de la vesícula, ¿cuál sería el resultado?
If they didn't do this, what would be the outcome?
Raúl, si no esta cirugía, los dolores en su abdomen posiblemente empeorarían e incluso podría tener una infección.
Oh, if you didn't get this surgery, the abdominal pains would possibly get worse, would worsen. So we need
Raúl,
recibiera.
si no recibiera esta cirugía, los dolores en su abdomen posiblemente empeorarían e incluso podría tener una infección.
Uy, a ver, okay.
Sin embargo, es una cirugía simple. Le aconsejaría que la cirugía dentro de las próximas 3 semanas.
And programar here means to schedule, right? Put it in the slot, programming it in, okay? Sin embargo, es una cirugía simple. Le aconsejaría, I would advise that you schedule.
Programar.
Programar.
Sin embargo, es una cirugía simple. Le aconsejaría que programara la cirugía dentro de las próximas 3 semanas.
Okay.
Doctora, no estoy preparado. Preferiría que mi mejor amigo Paco me... ¿Qué hacer antes de programar mi operación?
I would prefer that my best buddy, recomendar, right? I would prefer that.
Doctora, no estoy preparado. Preferiría que mi mejor amigo Paco me recomendara qué hacer antes de programar mi operación.
I will say no more because you're going to hear what she says.
¿Es su amigo Paco doctor? Comprendo que usted tenga miedo. Sin embargo, me gustaría que la cirugía es un procedimiento normal para tratar las piedras de la vesícula.
I would like you to understand this.
Comprendía.
Comprender.
¿Es su amigo Paco doctor?
Yeah, your friend a doctor?
Comprendo
Paco a
que
doctor?
usted tenga miedo. Sin embargo, me gustaría que comprendiera que la cirugía es un procedimiento normal para tratar las piedras de la vesícula.
Ajá,
You
ok.
didn't hear what Paco has to say about
La
vaccines.
opinión de mi mejor amigo.
Oh, perdón, Miguel.
Yeah, Paco has opinions about vaccines too.
Es probable que no le gusten las vacunas. Yeah, sí, ok. Bien. Sí, eso es.
No, pero confío en la opinión de mi mejor amigo.
Ay,
Doctora.
ay.
Cuando mi madre tuvo una cirugía, tenía miedo de que ella no saliera del quirófano.
Oh, but here comes where really some of his fear is happening from this other incident. When my mom had surgery, I was afraid that she would not get out of the operating room. Saliera.
No, pero confío en la opinión de mi mejor amigo. Doctora, cuando mi madre tuvo una cirugía, tenía miedo de que ella no saliera del quirófano.
So his problem is he's a mama's boy. Oh, okay. Aquí vamos. Here we go.
Comprendo, Raúl, pero no todas las cirugías son iguales. Le recomendaría que a 2 de mis mejores cirujanos con amplia experiencia en este tipo de cirugía.
Ah,
Comprendo, Raúl, pero no todas las cirugías son iguales. Le recomendaría que considerara a 2 de mis mejores cirujanos con amplia experiencia en este tipo de cirugía.
bien. I would recommend that you consider 2 of my best surgeons, cirujanos, surgeons, right? With wide experience, amplia experiencia, right? In this type of surgery.
Sí. Pasar por el quirófano. ¿Podría tomar medicación para el dolor hasta entonces?
Oh, if I were to decide about this, yeah, decidiera.
Si decidiera pasar por el quirófano, ¿podría tomar medicación para el dolor hasta entonces?
Bien.
Claro, Raúl, sería recomendable que usted algunos medicamentos. Le voy a escribir una receta. Además, aquí tiene más información sobre la enfermedad.
And receta can mean recipe, but here it means prescription. Prescription is called a receta, ¿sí?
Claro, Raúl, sería recomendable que usted tomara algunos medicamentos. Le voy a escribir una receta. Además, aquí tiene más información sobre la enfermedad.
Muy bien.
No estoy convencido sobre la cirugía, pero tomaré una decisión en los próximos días.
I'd like
Darle las
to.
gracias por su ayuda, doctora.
Claro, Raúl. Llámeme si tiene preguntas.
Good. Here
Quisiera.
comes I'd like to. And
Quisiera.
yeah, quisiera. Yeah, I want to thank you. You would think maybe well, okay, quiero grammatically could work, but really somebody's much more likely to say quisiera. Because you're being super polite,
No
because it's
estoy
your doctor.
convencido sobre la cirugía, pero tomaré una decisión en los próximos días. Quisiera darle las gracias por su ayuda, doctora.
Claro, Raúl. Llámeme si tiene preguntas.
Bien, ok, la pobre doctora. Ok, bueno, vamos a ver. We're going to leave that for now. We're going to go into some practice. Vamos a practicar. ¿Dónde están mis apuntes? Están aquí. We're going to take a look at 5 ideas that you may want to complete. Aquí tenemos situaciones típicas. You need to complete these ideas. Tendría, and I am switching the order of the C clause so that you have to use the past subjunctive. I'm not starting it with C, I'm ending it with C. So you need to use subjunctive in these because I've got condicional. Aquí tenemos condicional, ¿verdad? Sí, aquí condicional y otra es lo pasaríamos. Muy bien. Entonces, sí, yo tendría la casa perfecta. Sí. I would have the perfect house if.
Si hubiera hecho la cama.
Si hubiera hecho la cama. If I had made the bed. You got a low bar. Okay. Tendría la casa perfecta si, si tuviera un baño más.
Oficina.
If I had one more bathroom in the house, right? ¿Sí?
Sí.
¿Sí? Ok, otra idea. Tendría la casa perfecta si
Si tuviera una oficina.
si tuviera una oficina.
Ujú.
Si tuviera una oficina. If I had an office attached, kind of.
Si
Magnífico.
tuviera una piscina olímpica.
Si tuviera una piscina magnífica.
Olímpica.
Olímpica. Aún mejor, even better. Olímpica. Claro, Guy. Qué jardín. What a yard you gotta have for that. Okay.
Olympic size pool.
Okay. Me relajaría más. I would relax more. Sí.
Tuviera una criada.
Sí, me gusta. Si tuviera una criada. If I had a maid. Eso me gusta. ¿Qué más? ¿Sí?
Si no necesitaba la cirugía.
Si no necesitaba, sí. Perdón. Sí.
Necesitaba una cirugía.
Una.
Surgery.
Cirugía. Si no necesitara. Cirugía. If I didn't need surgery. El pobre Raúl, sí. Si no necesitara cirugía. Eso es. Ok. Sí.
Si tuviera una mojita.
Si tuviera
un mojito.
Un mojito.
Ujú.
Sí.
Igualmente.
Eso sí. Definitivamente. Ok. Bueno, compraría un nuevo carro si I would buy a new car if
Tuviera dinero.
tuviera dinero. Si
supiera conducir.
si supiera conducir, if I knew how to drive. Eso es. Me gusta. Sí.
Si tenía confianza.
Si tuviera
Si
confianza.
tuviera confianza en Tesla.
Si tuviera confianza en Tesla. Ok.
Si tuviera más espacio en mi garaje.
Sí, eso es. Si tuviera más espacio en mi garaje. Qué buenos ejemplos. Qué buenos ejemplos. Lo pasaría muy bien. I would have a really good time if. Pasarlo bien is to have a good time.
Vivía un mojito.
Si tuviera un mojito, sí. Si bebiera Un mojito, ¿sí?
Más.
O más. Un mojito más. Bien, ok, fantástico. Sí,
Y tuviera una invitación a la fiesta.
Si tuviera una invitación a la fiesta o a una fiesta. Sí, eso es, me gusta mucho. Lo pasaríamos muy bien, sí. And actually here, we really would need these to be more, it would make more sense, bebiéramos, right? To have these in nosotros, right? Because we would have a good time if we were doing it. Si tuviéramos. Sí, ok. Sí.
Si vinieron todos mis amigos.
Sí, invitar, ¿no?
No, sí, vinieron.
Oh, sí, sí. Sí,
¿Vinieron?
si vinieran
Todos mis
todos
amigos.
mis amigos.
Sí.
Exacto. Si vinieran todos mis amigos, if all my friends came.
Sí.
Eso es. And notice how we can switch that into not a nosotros form because we're talking about my friends. So vinieran todos mis amigos. Me gusta. Fantástico. Otras ideas. ¿Lo pasaríamos muy bien?
Si durmiera en la noche pasada.
Si durmiera, durmiéramos, if we slept, ¿sí? Si durmiéramos anoche. Instead of la noche pasada, anoche. Ok.
Bailará con nosotros.
Sí. Bailara o bailaras o lo que sea, sí, con nosotros. Ok, muy bien. Tendría más tiempo libre, sí. We would have more free time if. Tuviéramos criada, sí. We would have more free time.
Si no tuviera que trabajar.
Sí, no. Tuviéramos que trabajar. Si trabajáramos menos.
Sí.
La misma idea, pero otra manera de expresar la misma idea, ¿sí? Si trabajáramos menos, ¿ok? Sí. O podemos pasar. Ok.
How would you say if time stood still?
Qué buena pregunta.
Sí, el tiempo.
Sí,
no-
si no pasara el tiempo tan rápidamente. Quizás. I don't know that there's a stood still. Now I'm curious about that.
Parar.
Si
Tiempo.
parara. Si
Parará.
parara el tiempo, si parara el tiempo, if time were to stop, sí. Si parara, sí. Eso es, me gusta. Okay, let's get into some other things. Now, these are the ones that you found a little bit harder. And we can plug in a wife or a husband or whoever, see? Mi esposo or mi esposa pidió que. Ask that I do something or that somebody else do something. Pidió que.
Que
Ya va la cara. El cara.
Que, perdón, Miguel, otra vez que yo.
Ya va el otro.
Llamara.
Ya.
Nada.
Llamara or llevara. Take the car.
I got the wrong word. I'm trying to say clean.
Oh, ok. Limpiar.
Lavaba.
Limpiar.
Yeah,
Limpiara
limpiar.
el carro.
Okay.
Eso es, sí. Que yo limpiara el carro, ¿sí? Pidió que limpiara el carro. Ask me to clean the car. Perfecto. Ok, muy bien. Otro. Que yo.
Que él llevara el vino.
Que él llevara el vino. Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien. ¿Qué más? Que, and it can be anybody. They could have asked anybody to do it. Jim.
Yo trabajara en el jardín.
Que trabajara. Trabajara en
El jardín. Garden.
en el jardín, sí, en el jardín. In the backyard, right? En el jardín. Magnífico, ¿ok? Mi familia quería que yo, my family wanted me to do something. Mi familia.
Saliera.
Que saliera. Qué normal, qué normal. Qué normal. Ok. Lo usual. Mi familia quería que yo.
How do you say it? Stop talking.
Que dejara de hablar. Que dejara de hablar. My family wanted me to stop talking.
No, cállate.
No, but you could use that. Que me callara.
Callara, sí.
Does that mean shut up?
That's what I was looking for.
Es más abrupto. Es más abrupto. Que me callara, que dejara de hablar. Es más suave. Que dejara de hablar es más suave. Que me callara es la vida en realidad. Yeah, that's what they really say. Que me callara in real life. That's how they would say that. Okay. Mi familia quería que...
Viajábamos a Disney World.
Que viajáramos a Disney World. Bien, sí. Let's look at this one. Me gustaría que tú. I would like that you do something. Me gustaría que
Cocinarás la cena.
cocinaras la cena. Bien. Fantástico. Me gustaría
No visitará el curandero.
que que no visitara al curandero. Ay, sí. Que me gustaría que no visitaras. We gotta have it really in a two form. Que tú, me gustaría que tú bebieras menos. Que bebieras menos. Bueno, algo así, ¿no? Ok. Bueno, perdón, Teresa.
Que tú cuidarías a los perritos.
Que cuidaría. Que cuidaras. Que cuidaras. I missed the last half of it, Teresa.
Los perritos.
A los perritos. Bien, sí. Take care of the doggies. Okay. Mi amigo sugirió que. And he might have suggested it to us. He might have suggested it to you. He might have suggested it to me. No sabemos qué.
Que no viajara hasta que recibiera la vacuna.
Ah, que no viajara hasta que recibiera la vacuna.
Yeah.
Exacto, magnífico. And both of those need subjunctive until this thing were to happen. Okay, me gusta mucho. Mi amigo sugirió que saliéramos pronto. My friend suggested that we leave soon. Que saliéramos pronto, ¿sí? A ver, bueno, ¿qué más? Tenemos un ejemplo más. Mi jefe me dijo que yo. My boss told me to do something. Mi jefe me dijo que. And he's not saying what I actually did. He told me to do this. Perdón, Pat.
Trabajara más.
Exacto. My boss told me to work more. He didn't say that I worked more. He told me to work more. Me dijo que trabajara más. Mi jefe.
Llegara más tiempo.
Me dijo que I caught the end of the tiempo.
Arrive earlier, llegar más temprano.
Que llegara más temprano. Que llegara más temprano. Bien, sí.
Question, if I wanted to say, he told me to work the next week. We're talking about into the future, but we're using the imperfect subjunctive. Could you say?
Sí.
La semana.
Ok, entiendo, sí. La siguiente semana.
So it's still imperfect subjunctive, even though we're talking about the next week.
Because my boss told me to do this. Sí, eso es. Eso es, because my boss told me. Mi jefe me dijo que trabajara la siguiente semana, the following week. Eso es, perfecto, sí. Ok, ¿entienden ustedes un poquito mejor cómo funciona? Do you understand a little bit better how this works? Sí. Bien. Ok. Bueno. We did not get to our artículo. Perdón. We did run out of time because I had forgotten to send out the correct link with the doctora, but I could not resist taking a look at that. La perspectiva es importante. Ok. Bueno. ¿Qué prefieren ustedes? What do you guys prefer? ¿Prefieren ustedes que yo les dé otro artículo o prefieren ustedes que yo les dé un cortometraje? Would you prefer that I find a cortometraje? I've got about 5 that I'm looking at, but I don't know which one is going to be best for you yet, if you want to do that. ¿Cortometraje o artículo? Cortometraje.
Artículo.
¿Un artículo? Ok. Vale, magnífico. Muy bien. Voy a buscar un artículo de algo muy al corriente, something very current. No sé lo que será. I don't know what it will be yet. Tengo una idea, pero no sé exactamente. Muy bien, bueno, vamos a ver. And whenever I find that, I bet we are going to have some examples. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it will definitely have some examples in it, but I may find one better in the next day or two. So, okay. Excelente, muy bien. Nos vemos entonces la semana que viene, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Bien. Sí. Perfecto, muy bien. Espero que ustedes tengan, I'm hoping right now, so it's presence of, espero que ustedes tengan buen fin de semana. Espero que ustedes lo pasen bien. I hope you have a good time. Y nos vamos a ver la semana que viene, ¿verdad?
¿Verdad?
Que tenga un buen fin de semana también.
Muchas gracias, muchas gracias. Así es. Bueno, nos vemos más tarde.
Nos vemos.
Vemos. Bye bye.
Buenas noches.